Alright, we are recording again after a relatively long hiatus here. And what I'm going to do here is we've brought on all our drawings, we've got layers set. I want to get everyone in the page of a couple of things. One is immediately to get a layer manager setting. So LMan, there's a couple up there, but you would like to make sure everything is thawed and frozen. So minus layer, T for thaw, star on lock, star. Thaws and locks and unfreezes everything, and then LMan for a layer manager setting. You want to hit new here and just say all on. This is going to be something you should set up just like you set up views. Alright, so we've got that set up. That's an AutoCAD management tool. We now have something we really want to going to make a boundary, so we might want to start thinking about putting things on the right layers. But before I bring in a boundary, I'm going to talk about now about how to bring in, not using XREF, but how to use insert to bring in perhaps some line work that is going to be true break lines, because the step I'm going to skip is the polylines by proximity. So I'm going to do I for insert. I'm going to insert a drawing that will make available to each of you, or I have done through some other way, cross sections, or someone provided me with a good set of 3D lines in AutoCAD. I'm going to go out. I've got that placed here. It's on the same coordinate basis, so there's no moving around as the Great Hope. It doesn't always work that way. If it doesn't come in correctly, you then have to do something with it. It is called Fake Road Without Culvert Boo. It is Halloween week. I hit open here, 0, 0, 0, 0 rotation. I can bring it in exploded if I want, and that comes in pretty much at the right spot that I want it, and it is in 3D, however. So now I've got some 3D lines. I will let you know that this is one of the few times that I will have you change the layer of something. You can see me managing a bunch of information in 3D. Those are 3D lines, which we will then use as break lines. So to make a surface, you're going to want to get to the right layer. Perhaps EDTM, existing DTM, might be a good place to go. And we have a lot of other ones. I'm going to go ahead and set DTM work line as my layer, and I'm going to go ahead and do P line. You want it to be a two-dimensional P line. You want to remember to kind of hug around what you need to, and I'm going to go actually all the way around everything here. You had your points. I'm going to let it make tins across these very wide areas. I'm going to take my boundary outside of what's going to be my line work, and I'm going to hit close. That listing it is a 2D polyline. You now can go about and make your surface. So you realize I've got settings set here. So I can go ahead and go to Prospector. Now I'm going to make a surface. I've actually got an alignment setting in there with nothing in it. So I'm going to go to Surfaces, right click, create a surface. Over here, I'm off the side of the screen again. I am doing 4606 underscore October 22nd underscore X topo. Hit OK here. That creates the surface, but it doesn't create the surface, so to speak. You now have to go to Definition. You're going to add first your point groups. Right click, add. The DOT makes basically one point group. Apply. Okay, it makes a tin. If you notice there, it actually would not cut across that because of something in the surface you're going to see. So maximum, this would be the case that you're going to have an issue with some of your surface information, and so because I wanted to fit this information in between, I want to go between here, and I'm going to show you where that setting is now, finally avoiding it, unfortunately. As you go here, right click, Surface Properties, Definition. In the build, the maximum triangle length you have to set up a lot higher based on the tin you have here. So that will come up. I hit apply, OK. rebuild the surface. Okay, and you see that it then rebuilded your surface. You now want to do a couple of other things. You have added some point group. You might want to add the boundary. Right click, add. You're going to go ahead and call it the outer boundary. You're going to grab the boundary line that you had there, and that cleans it up. And finally, you're going to use for the first time some actual break lines that are break lines. To do this, it's not a bad idea to change your viewpoint. Remember, you had minus view, so you had a view already. It's right there. So to change your minus view, right, 1, 1, 1, if you're working with me, it's going to take you, V point, 1, 1, 1 is going to take you way out in space, and you kind of got to find yourself your way back. You're going to see up here a couple of things. That polyline was up in 3D space, but it still worked. That's the boundary, actually. That's the boundary. And so you have your lines here that you can. I'm now going to use the wheel and the orbit a little bit. See how bad that becomes? Undo. When you get close, minus V for view, not W for window, but just save. And the name of save is my oblique. In other words, from my looking in 3D space, getting someplace I kind of know where I'm at, and now I can go through and add my break lines. Right click, add. This time they're just standard break lines. They are not proximity. They are not anything else. They are just standard. And I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to grab a bunch of lines. And you see how it cleaned up that tin right away, I think. We'll see if it worked or not. So we now have gone and used 3 different sets of break lines. We've used hopefully this will work or didn't, but you've got information that if you now in this view go to here, it's in your prospector, and change your properties, you will get the sense of if you change this to maybe 10-foot major, 2-foot minor, apply, you start to see how that information starts to come in 3D. Right, so you get a really good sense of a couple of things. What happens with the road? You have a really flat portion in there. What a set of contours looks like on a road. Very fixed, because that road was kind of faked in more or less correctly. And you can kind of get the concept of that's the point that in fact you are then working in 3D. You do not want to have that around for these next steps, however. So very quickly you go back and do some other things like